Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I am back with another Chronicles of Drunagor video for you. This time we're going to be talking about the Age of Darkness Apocalypse, kind of what I imagine will be one of the final updates, because basically everything is here now, and so we're going to dig into it. We're also going to take this time to look at the actual updates, like, the iterative updates, because there's a lot of interesting stuff in there as well. And this thing is launching in a week, so prepare thyselves. Start banking significant other points so that when this shows up on your credit card, they'll go, you know what though? Yeah, he spent too much money on this. He or she spent too much money on this, but they did this, that, and the other thing. So you gotta use your, manipulate your significant others into allowing this, because this game is awesome and this campaign looks awesome. And they have really been taking feedback on this stuff from all sorts of people, from the community, even from me personally. I've given some feedback on some of these updates in terms of just how they frame stuff. And I don't know if that had anything to do with the changes that they made, but they made changes that I had suggested. So I'm going to take credit for the whole thing. Hope nobody's got a problem with that. But yeah, let's dive into it. And I will say I'm a little thrown off. This is my second time taping this. I got about 20 minutes into this and it was really good, guys. And then I realized that it was not recording. And so now I am very sad and trying to bounce back and give you all the video that you deserve. You all deserve a great video. So let's do this. Project story. First of all, we've got the All-In. The first campaign All-In is coming back, and they've updated the image to include Foreteller, the dice, the player trays, and the dungeon trays. All for $339, including all the expansions from the first campaign. I paid considerably more than this for less stuff. I paid more like this, $400 or more, for just this stuff at the one retail store in North America that I know of that sells this stuff and would ship it to me, which is a site called the Gigabytes Cafe. So love that site. They were really great to work with. But this price is absolutely absurd for the amount of content that you have. The price in the original campaign was so low that it was almost like it was a typo or something. And so, but even still, this is hilariously reasonable for the amount of stuff you're getting and for the quality of it. AAA high quality components from everything from the miniatures to the freaking boxes themselves. It's all super high quality. The game itself is incredible, and it's just so much stuff. The sheer tonnage of stuff that you're getting, including the Foreteller app, which is wrapped into this price too. Again, they could easily have just sold this separately. They didn't have to put it into the All-In because it's not part of it. It wasn't part of the first campaign. But this shows real foresight and real kind of understanding on their part of the kind of deal that people are looking for. And I'm telling you guys, every interaction I've had with CGS about this, everything I've seen or read just indicates to me that this is a company that we should be supporting because they really have it together. They're really thinking these things through. Everything from that, which we'll be discussing because it's the topic of one of the updates, to stuff like, again, putting the Foreteller app into the All-In so that you really are getting everything, even though it wasn't available in the first campaign. And they are fully within their rights to not include this. Very smart. Lots to say about all of this, but just to start, if you don't have this game, this is a tremendous deal. This is going for well over $1,000 on eBay. At least the last time I looked, I saw bundles for over $1,000. So this is a great deal. We've talked about this a million times. I won't belabor the subject, but follow the campaign so that you can get your free miniature when the campaign launches. Because this isn't enough crap, guys. You got to have more. You got to have it all, right? So make sure you get this or you're just going to have to buy it anyways. But that said, that's a very reasonable price for the expansion. Honestly, this thing is pretty big from what I remember. 80 millimeter, yeah. It's a big boss with cards and stuff. That is not a bad price. If you look at something like Descent or Imperial Assault, they'll sell you one tiny little character, Lando Calrissian for $10, $12. So this is a great deal, even if you have to buy it. So why back now? You're going to get it cheaper, save money with huge discounts. You're going to get it faster without having to wait for retail. This is very interesting because it calls out that this will eventually go to retail, which I don't think had been confirmed previously. So that's interesting to know. And then get it bigger because you're getting all the exclusive content. It makes it almost twice the size of the retail edition. That's great. So here we've got a bunch of quotes from YouTube channels that are not the Grumpy Meeple. So if y'all want to see Grumpy Meeple quotes here, here's what you do. You go down this page to the Discord for Creative Game Studios, which I have just joined, so you may see me in there as well. I'm really old, so Discord is still kind of a mystery to me. I use it for chat, like during my World of Warcraft Classic dungeon runs, but I kind of don't understand the difference between it and like Facebook. I'm just so old, guys, so very old, and so bear with me on that. But if you want to see a quote from the Grumpy Meeple here, get on that Discord and just say, hey, say it respectfully, say it nicely, say it once. Hey, why don't you throw something up from G Maple? He's supported the game a lot. No, none of these guys have more Drunagor content than I do. I guarantee you. I probably have more Drunagor content than all of them combined. But that's fine. I'm still small. I accept it. These guys, the Creative Game Studios has been amazing to even acknowledge my existence, which no other game company has, basically. So, but wouldn't mind getting a quote up there. I mean, that Grumpy Meeple would look real good here. Some of these logos, it's like, hey, come on, like what? A Meeple just staring at you, like angry? That would look so much cooler there. Anyways, I'm mostly tongue-in-cheek right now. So, here we go with Apocalypse. This miniature, guys, this is truly insane. So when this campaign was kind of when they were still building out the preview and such, at one point they put up an image that indicated that you weren't getting the miniatures for the Four Horsemen in the Apocalypse box, which I had been working under the assumption that you were, for whatever reason. I may have just misread, or I don't know. And at the time, I remember thinking to myself, well, that's kind of odd. Why would you put out a expansion about the Four Horsemen, but not put the Four Horsemen in the box? Even if they were the only miniatures that were in that box, I would have actually been okay with that. Now it is clear to me that the reason they didn't put the miniatures in the box is because these miniatures are on a whole different scale from really most everything else that's out there. 255 millimeter for the Death Horseman, who is a person perched on top of an enormous dragon who is perched on top of an enormous ruined building. So this is like 3 miniatures in one for a painter, basically. And it looks incredible. I really like the dragon miniature from the first game, but this thing absolutely dwarfs it. So now it's clear to me why this couldn't possibly have gone in the box. It's just too big. And we'll talk about the box for Apocalypse because it's actually even funnier. Here they're just showing you everything you can get. They go into all the types of campaign that you can get. I won't dwell on this too much. I will just say in terms of this graphic, 30 minutes per player, I would change this to 30 minutes per character, but because I play solo with 2 characters. But even when I'm narrating, what I'm doing and I'm having to think about leaving like pause stops in my video so that I can cut because I make a lot of mistakes and such. This is pretty close to accurate. And I imagine if I wasn't taping it, it would basically be accurate. You could get through a mission in an hour, maybe a little bit more. Which is really nice, and it's not a huge setup for this game either. You can get this game in and out pretty quick. For something of this scale, it's impressive. 14 years or older, I suspect a 10-year-old could easily play this game. I taught my 6-year-old to play Arcadia Quest, and I was guiding him, but he was still playing and making decisions and stuff. And this is a little more involved. There's a little more reading involved, but even still, I think there are 10-year-olds in my neighborhood that I know could play this game. So, but it's good for them to be conservative about it. And then you got kind of your game modes. I don't even know what darkness mode is. The game is so massive. There's so much stuff in the box. I haven't even messed around with that. And I didn't realize that there was a PvP mode, really. I mean, I think I knew that, but I kind of hadn't processed it. You get your QR codes for your random dungeon doors, and you get your campaign and whatnot. So, and then they're printing it in some additional languages and making digital copies version and even more. So that's great. All good stuff there. So, in terms of the rewards, right off the bat, you've got the Apocalypse Adventures pledge, which comes with Apocalypse, the expansion, and the campaign stretch goals for Apocalypse. And looks like it's coming December 2022. December 2022. Okay. That's nice. This seems like a pretty reasonable guess to me. I just late pledged Storm Sunder, and on the backer kit or whatever it is for that game, they claim to be delivering April 2021. It is now July 2021, and obviously it has not shipped because they are still taking pledges for it. So it's always better to overestimate this as far as I'm concerned, and this seems like a pretty conservative estimate. That's a year and a half from now. I could imagine this getting done by then. So $95 to get all this stuff, hell of a deal. That's a great deal. I don't know what else to say about it. I sound like a shill. I don't know how to combat that, really, because I guess I am a shill because I like this game. Like, when I don't like something, and if you watch my Drunagor content, I've roasted these guys for some really basic, kind of goofy mistakes with like orientation of tiles in images, and the start here guide is kind of crap. So I am not afraid to rough them up, but I'm also not afraid to blow the trumpet on those who deserve it. And these guys, this game is really good, and I have no doubt that this campaign all the stuff here will be of the same like audacious level of quality that the original game was. Because you have to remember, this is not CMON. This is not Fantasy Flight. They don't have years of experience doing this stuff in 15 different expansions. Their first game was, I think it's called Towers of Arcanos, and it was nothing like this and nowhere near the scale of this. So for them to come out of nowhere with this, relatively speaking, and knock it out of the park and hit all those fine details like the quality of the materials, the boxes, the 3D terrain and everything. It was a really audacious campaign, and they pulled it off, and so I have no doubt this will as well. You can also just get the Hero Pledge, which just comes with the core box and the stretch goals from the first campaign. This is a tremendous deal. You are getting a truly colossal amount of content for this price. If you did nothing else, just buy this pledge. It's also coming earlier, which is interesting, July 2022. So maybe they have two-wave shipping going on with this. Or you can get the reprint with everything for $339.99. I think this is also a tremendous deal and would not hesitate to suggest it to someone. I mean, just like, look, like, it's so funny to line it up like that. And I don't even know that this is I think there's a box missing because I don't see the box for the player trays there. So funny. Oh, okay, they're stacked next to each other. It's an insane amount of content for a really, really good game. So consider this. This gets the Grumpy Meeple seal of approval. This is a good deal. The price that they charged for this in the first campaign was kind of stupid, to be honest. Like, it was so cheap. I don't even know how they are still like a viable company, because there was a point at which during the Black Friday deal or something like that, where I want to say that this or most of this was like $239. Just absolutely absurd. How did they even produce this with that kind of pricing? I don't know. So I have no problem with saying this is still a great deal. This is a ridiculous deal. So consider that. And then here you get into it. You got all the kind of individual pieces. One thing I'm going to call out is Apocalypse the Four Horsemen. So this is the box with the miniatures. It's $89 on its own. Let's take a look at it, and I'll explain why I think that that's perfectly valid. So as far as I understand, all comes with are the Four Horsemen miniatures. So it's not strictly necessary. It's definitely not necessary to play the game. But there aren't any other standees in this game, and it would just make me really sad to have a standee to replace this stuff. I think it was a good decision to not include it in the box, because they would have had to charge $200 for that box, and that would have been a real impediment to getting people to buy this. So put it on as an add-on, just like they did in Drunagor's Adventures, where the dragons were a separate thing in the Dragon Collection. So, 4 miniatures, replacing the standees. Famine at 140 millimeters. If this was the biggest miniature in the box, this would still be a pretty great deal. This is still a really big, really detailed, impressive looking miniature. The Plague Horseman is even bigger, 164 millimeters. And, he's up on like a whole piece of terrain, which appears to be like sand-covered bodies. And it's got a miniature just in the grips of its tail. So awesome. Little pustules all over his body. Really cool looking miniature. Then you've got War, who is comparatively tiny at only 100 millimeters, which is still huge. Standard hero in this game is 40 millimeters. So, this is going to be considerably kind of like longer and wider and taller and such. So this is still an awesome miniature and a great miniature. Just War's riding on basically what I think is a chimera here. He's got his scorpion tail. Looks awesome. And then you have this just ridiculously huge, like hilariously huge 255 millimeter Death Horseman, which is 3 minis in one, building, giant dragon, and person on the dragon, Death. So this looks big here, right? And because I taped this previously, I have the benefit of hindsight, so I know what's coming next. You would look at this and say, wow, that's a really big miniature. If you scroll down a little bit, though, you really get a sense. Look at how freaking huge this thing is. Like, look at his wingspan. That doesn't even come off in this video. It looks like his wings are tucked, And when you see him head on, he's even bigger than he looks in the image. Somehow this guy is bigger than I thought he was before I saw this miniature, this image of it. Unreal. Such an awesome miniature. 255 millimeters, you're getting into like Joan of Arc dragon territory at that point. Truly one of the biggest miniatures you're going to own, for any game, basically. So at least at the moment. This will raise the bar, I'm sure. And at that price, like, again, I don't know how they are charging those prices, but this is absolutely 100% worth. He alone is probably worth $89, much less with the other 3 miniatures. And then you get down here and you realize that somehow these guys, who already made one of the biggest, deepest, heaviest board game boxes I've ever seen, and I'm somebody who collects all of these games. I have a lot of them. I have Midara, Gloomhaven, all the Sword and Sorcery. I have every single expansion for Descent. I have all that stuff. And this box alone dwarfs 95% of those. And somehow the Four Horsemen box is actually bigger. 50 by 45 by 38. It's like 30% bigger than these. Unreal. It's not like box size. I made a joke in the previous video. I'll make it again because it was really funny. Box size doesn't matter, ladies. Right? It was better the first time. That's another joke. Yeah. I'm not saying that buy this because the box is huge. I'm saying, boy, these guys have some balls on them to make a box this big and to make a box that dwarfs the box that they already made, which was already audaciously huge. So, holy crap, where does this box escalation end with Creative Game Studios? The next box is just going to be its own table, basically. This is almost big enough to be a surface upon which you could play this game. Like, oh, so awesome. So very, very awesome. Moving on. You've got the COD Hero Pack. This gives you more miniatures for your heroes, more classes, and more characters. I'm not going to go into it because I've talked about it in a previous video, but this stuff all looks very cool. Foreteller, it's only for the core box at the moment, which I don't blame them for. There's a good bit of narrative just in that core box, so I'm fine with this. And then they'll catch up, I assume, with the other, content later if it's successful. And then you've got all the various expansions that you can buy. This, again, $35 for this Dragon expansion is absolutely absurd. Like, I don't know, these guys, I feel like their math is off or they're converting wrong because they're not native English. Maybe they use a different denomination. Why is this I am excited about the fact that it's $35. And I'm not asking them to increase the price. But I am wondering what the hell is going on here when, just this is a really big miniature, in and of itself. 130 millimeter, that's a huge miniature, and it's only part of what comes in this box. It comes with more bad guys too. It comes with terrain, new maps, adventure books, doors, and 2 new heroes and the paladin class. Just guys, seriously, I don't want to come off like a shill, but if you were looking at Levon Rising, which was a recent campaign, you were looking at something like Storm Thunder. This is punching at the same level as both of those games, but Tanar's Adventure, same deal. But the value proposition here is just, as far as I can remember off the top of my head from backing a lot of campaigns that are very similar to this, this is unprecedented. And I know, because we're going to talk about the updates, that there's going to be a pledge that's going to be the all-in for returning backers with all this stuff, I assume. And I just am so excited to see the price for that, because just the pricing on this stuff is just insane. Moving on, the Lucanor Adventure and Shadow World Pack. I still haven't gotten to even mess with these. I've opened them. I did an unboxing of them, but I kind of don't have a sense of where they fit into the game, if they're side quests or something. I think they're their own little mini campaigns, basically. Let's look, because they will almost assuredly tell you. Fully cooperative, Drunagor, reprint. I mean, it comes with its own campaign book, so I'm pretty sure it's a separate little mini campaign. But these are good deals too, Compared to this, if anything, I don't know, some of this pricing is just wacky. $25 for this, which is a good bit of content and worth more than $25. Don't get me wrong. This is a great deal. It's worth more than $35 too, as far as I am concerned. But it's only $10 less than the absolutely enormous expansions with dragons the size of your, mouse pad. I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm happy about it, and I hope you like it too. And then you got the Monster Pack, which is cool, gives you more variation. A couple heroes, hero trays. Talked about all this stuff, not going to get into it. And that's pretty much it. We've gone through all the rest of this stuff before. Down, down, down. All this great stuff. Again, you can see a bunch of videos from people that are not me. I think Creative Game Studio should consider putting my organization guide for Chronicles of Drunagor that I made. You could throw that on here. That might be interesting. I have a bunch of unboxings. I have playthroughs, some of which are starting to look pretty good. I've got a new rig set up over my play space. I think it looks okay. Maybe when I do a review, who knows? They've been great again. And so I'm mostly just poking fun at Daniel because I know he watches some of this stuff. So so this is interesting too. They are putting out an updated version of the Tabletop Simulator mod for Drunagor, which I believe is going to contain content from Age of Darkness. I will absolutely be making a video where I play through this. And I'll tell you what, if anybody would be interested in playing through it with me, if you have a PC and a copy of Tabletop Simulator, I mean, you could have a Mac too, I guess. I don't know if they're cross-compatible. Hit me up in the comments, and I'll pick a random person, or maybe I'll pick everyone if there's only 2 people who watch this. And I'll walk you through how to play it if you haven't played it before and show you how to kind of use Tabletop Simulator. Because the existing mod for this was quite good, but I'm hoping here that they have updated it, because I did have some problems. The player trays that were in it didn't work great, like the terrain trays, I mean. And so this does look considerably different than the version that I played, and these look a little bit better. In the original version, you kind of couldn't actually put the cards onto the terrain trays. They would kind of fall off. I experienced this at least. But I really like Tabletop Simulator. This game plays really well on Tabletop Simulator, and I'd be happy to play it with y'all. So let me know, and as long as you're okay with being on the channel, basically, because I'll obviously record it, we can play together. So maybe that's a cool option, or maybe some other content creator would like to play with me. Reach out to me. I'm interested in meeting new people, and that's why I'm doing this. So I can meet some of my heroes like King of Average, who I always post the most convoluted, complicated, like in-depth analyses of his hot takes on his channel, and he's always very patient and sometimes reads them and even responds. And so love that guy. Love Board Game Co. Quackalope. Dungeon Dive. Dungeon Dive's got a 35-40 part series on Shadows of Brimstone, so he will forever be my hero for that. If anybody wants to play this, let me know. And then again, join the Discord and respectfully pester CGS to include a picture of the Grumpy People somewhere on here. Check out their Facebook group, blah, blah, blah.